Good morning. Once you join, if you'd like, you can mute your microphone unless you have a question. In the chat, please add in your name and what school you're from as we get started. Just a recap, those that joined early, my early birds, I appreciate that. There are several sessions that I'm going to be offering over the next 2 weeks. I've scheduled it out, and those are today we're doing Discovery Education for Distance Learning. That's our session that's about to get started. I've got using Wakelet to create differentiated lessons. That will be later on this afternoon. Then I have Screencastify for flipped lessons, using Flipgrid for distance learning, tips for using Google Classroom, assessment tools to engage learners, collaboration tools and ideas for distance learning, creativity tools for distance learning, and interactive lessons for distance learning. So obviously we're doing a lot of stuff for distance learning because this is all a new experience for all of us. We'll dive in because I know you have a lot you need to be working on today. So I appreciate you joining me for this session on Discovery Education. Right now it's geared towards APS folks, but since it is public on the web, we might have some other folks that pop in. And if anyone joins us, great. But in APS, we know that we join Discovery Education going through My Backpack. So you're going to open up My Backpack so you can click along as I'm clicking here as well. But you're going to open up My Backpack, and My Backpack address is mybackpack.apsk12.org. Make sure you've saved that as a favorite. In order to do that, hit that star in this upper corner here in your Omnibar, your search bar, so that it saves it. And we're going to go to the Discovery Education. When I click on that icon, we are in. What's great about us using Discovery Education is the fact that not only do you have access, but your students have access. So that means that while you're trying to push out resources remotely, they have the same level of access you do. And they go in the same way by logging into Discovery Education through My Backpack. You should see this main page here. So we're going to talk about several ways that Discovery Education can support your learning as you're having these distance learning days. So the first thing is obviously you can search for any resources to support your instruction. So in order to do that, there's a search bar up here at the top. So as a former ELA teacher, I always defer to looking up Shakespeare. So I'm going to search for Shakespeare. So for all of your Discovery Education resources, you can filter by grade level. So I typed in Shakespeare and noticed that I had it by grade bands. So I've got middle and high school folks on here. So that means I can drill down and I can say, all right, I'm looking for resources specifically for 6 through 8. And notice that's filtering me down. I've gone down to 199 results. I can filter by channels, which I know there's a Shakespeare channel, which means it has all of the great things. So certain topics are going to have a channel, but if there's not a channel because you've drilled down to something more specific, you can still filter by types of resources. So if you're looking for a video as a hook to your lesson, as the instructional component to your lesson, I can filter by just videos. Notice I have 83 results for videos, but if I go over here on the left-hand side, I can take a look. Am I looking for literature, world history, composition, reading, and so forth, more topics? Am I looking for a full video? Or am I looking for a video segment? So maybe this is just a small part of what your online instruction is going to be working on. And I could say, all right, so full video here or video segment. So I can filter down by full videos that are available. And notice that I've drilled down. I got 21 videos, full videos on Shakespeare that is geared towards my middle band. So, once I choose that video, so I'm going to go here to this full video. And you've got a couple of options. So you've got a couple of options. I can hit this plus and add it to my quick list. When I do that, that means I'm saving it for later. If I'm pushing out resources, if I want to push out I'm building my Google Classroom lesson and I want to know what is that link, I'm going to come back to it. So I can hit that quick list. I can also hit the 3 dots here and choose to share it. So I know in Atlanta Public Schools, we're utilizing Google Classroom, which is great. Right here, I can hit this Google Classroom button and I can push it out directly. So when I click on that Google Classroom button, it's going to load and I can choose which class I want it to go to. So if I was pushing this out to my King Middle School class, I can click and make it an assignment. So just like you're creating any assignment in Google Classroom, this dialog button pops up. So I'm going to say create an assignment. Now I know that everybody doesn't just teach one class. So that being said, I can go here and I can say this is for Once I've selected and created an assignment, I can hit this drop down, and now I can tag additional classes. So I've got King, but I also want to push it out to Bunch, Brown, and Grady. So if I want to send it to all of my schools, in your case, it would be all of your classes, I can do so. On the other end of the spectrum, if I just want to send this out to one particular student, I can choose to send it to particular students. So instead of all students, maybe I just want to send this to Miss Calhoun. So again, I can drill down to just one student. So that's how I can push out just one video resource to my classes. Now, another option is if you need to, you can download the video and use it with a third-party tool such as Edpuzzle. If you want to make an interactive video. For example, Edpuzzle lets you bring in a video and put questions throughout the video. So that's one way that you can push out resources. So as I was searching, notice I went to video, and everybody goes, oh, that's mainly what I'm going to use this for. Not necessarily. Discovery Education is full of different types of resources. So let's take a look. We also have images, which are great for discussion starters. So if I choose to look at the images, so I can do the same thing if I want to use an image as a discussion starter and I want to push this out to my students. I can add it to that quick list, and notice that 3 dots more is there. If you are not using Google Classroom, but I do know that in APS we're using Google Classroom, there is an option to assign inside of Discovery Education. They have a built-in assignment tool where you can select a class. Since I'm not a teacher of record, I don't have students. I don't have a class available in there. But if you want to do it that way, but I would suggest using Google Classroom is the way to do it. Additionally, you can choose text. So that is true. If you are a Microsoft using district, you can push out through Teams. Thank you, Pinabi. So if we go to text, notice I can pull up different articles. And with that, you have the full article here. I can choose to do a digital print. So what's great about this, I can bring this in. If I download it as a print document, bring it into my Google Classroom and have students annotate over it. And you can make that an interactive piece. So there's how you can get to articles. So I can also choose boards. So Board Builder is a creation tool found in Discovery Education that you can find some interactive boards and have your students create a board. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the creation option here in just a minute. If I go to more, and this is where people are a little surprised that there's other resources available in here. So let's look at audio. So we have some audio files. So if you want to engage your learners that way, you can use the audio files. And I'm just checking in here on if anyone has any questions. So I can use any of these audio files. Again, add it to my quick list if I want access to it. More options. I can assign inside Discovery Education, share it. Again, for those that just hopped in, if I hit that share button, there is Teams and there is Google Classroom. So if I go to Google Classroom, showing this one more time since folks are just joining us, I'm going to choose my class, choose my action, create an assignment, and click go. Again, you most likely have more than one class. So if you hit this drop down, I'm going to go ahead and select all the classes that I want to send out this resource to. Okay. So other resources types of resources you'll find, you'll have interactives, and you also have lesson materials. So if we go to lesson materials, there's some writing prompts for this one, and there is writing prompt on the tragedy, writing honesty in the tragedy. So that was with looking at Shakespeare. So I know that we also have government. I see my government teachers have joined. I've got a few of them. So if I were to search for government, and I want to get more specific for my 9th through 12th grade teachers, 2,300 plus results. Obviously, I want to drill down a little bit more. I can choose full video segment. This is also important because we have our diverse learners, is we want to make sure that if you need to have closed captioning because you have hearing impaired students in your class and you want to make sure that that your media is accessible, you can choose closed captioning. Editable means that you can bring that resource in and make changes to it. If you're looking for a primary resource, if you're looking for a quiz, this is kind of important. If you're conducting online classes, and I appreciate you guys are joining through Google Meet, notice that I'm able to walk you through stuff. You can do the same thing with your students. So you might choose to share a quick 5-minute video that students need to watch and then go live with them, or you might give them a longer video. I can choose the publisher that I want to use. I can also choose the language. So this is important because I know I had some of the foreign language teachers have hopped on. some Spanish teachers, as well as French teachers. So you can actually find resources in the language that you are teaching for world language teachers. So those are just ways that you can drill down and search for resources. Do I have any questions on how you search for and filter down for the type of resource that you are looking for? And this is very, very informal. If you have any questions, put it in the chat. Unmute your mic. Please ask away if you have any questions. All right. So another way that you can use, and when you're ready to get back to the home screen, just hit this magical D up here in the left-hand corner. So I'm going to go back to the main page. So I can, again, come here and search. There's trending, search by subject, search by standard, and your particular content. There are channels that are available. And I want to take a look at the virtual field trips one. So if I click on virtual field trips, this is a great way to engage your learners. It defaults to 6th through 8th because I work mainly with middle schools and I have one high school that I support. But notice you can find resources K5, 6, 8, 9, 12 to see virtual field trips. Now, this would be great because you can facilitate this live with your students using Google Meet, or you can share these are archived virtual field trips. You could share that with your students and then have them respond to prompts using tools like Flipgrid or a Google Doc. So notice they have a ton of different field trips. Of course, the most popular ones here. This football by the numbers was great. There's one to see my buddy Will there in England. As you can see, you can look at the popular field trips. You can see what are the most recent. I actually had students at Brown Middle School participate in this NFL Play 60. It was great. So definitely check that out. What's great about this one is you have to get up and get moving and get your heart rate going. And so with the kids sitting at home for the next few weeks, that might be a good one. Even if it is not your subject area, you just might want to assign it just to get them up and get them moving. You can also drill down by careers. So for my CTA teachers that I saw that had joined us, definitely you can take a look at the career options. I know I saw that Ms. Nunnick was on here, so we can take a look at engineering, see if there's any that would work for you for there. Earth, space, science for my science teachers, life science, physical science, science and technology. All of these are interactive field trips that students can participate in. It gets them, quote, out of the house while we are on our distance learning day. These are just, again, tons of field trips to check out. We got social studies. So I saw that I had a couple of my social studies teachers on there. We got, even though this was Constitution Day 2017, still relevant content. Take a look at that. You might want to check out your social studies ones. There's even ones that are relevant to math. So it's just something different that you guys can use to engage your learners. So just to recap how we got to there. So remember our main page here, we go to the magic D, takes us to our home page, and you should see on your channels page one for virtual field trips. Give me a thumbs up or a wave as I'm seeing people or in the chat. Is anyone thinking, hey, this virtual field trip would be a really cool thing for me to use? Just curious. Virtual field trip option. I think that that's a great way to engage our learners while they're out. Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Vincent. I think that that's definitely a great way to do it. Now, also, I want us to take a look at how there are already some pre-made lesson activities. This happened with the quickness. I mean, there were rumbles. I met with some teachers and we were doing some prep and planning, just like we did with Weatherwise, thinking we'll make a plan, but we won't actually be out. And yet we are. So, and we are out at least 2 weeks, could be longer. We don't know. So not a lot of prep time. And today's your 1 PL day before kids are going to start getting online. I do want you to take a look at, you should have a channel on your main page here called Instructional Inspiration. So let's take a look at that. So the Instructional Inspiration is already made resources where they've taken a resource and paired it with a spotlight on strategy. And I want to talk a little bit more about the spotlight on strategies in a minute. You can see that they've got just different resources here that you might want to take a look at where it's already created. It's already been curated for you. Famous speeches from FDR might be a great one for my government teachers, for my social studies teachers. Here's a studio on problem solving on estimation for my math folks. So as you can see, these are ready-made activities that you can push out to your students. And I think that that is a great way to engage your learners using that inspiration channel. Just to make sure everybody saw where I went for that. Again, we go to the magic D. Any questions so far? Are we learning some things? Love it. Pinabi says one of her favorite virtual field trips is to Ford's Theater. I was very lucky to go to Ford's Theater for real, but that is awesome because not all of our students are going to get to see and experience all these, to expose them to these learning experiences. So I'm going to go back here to this main page here. So we went to that Instructional Inspirations page. So definitely want you to check that out. Now I mentioned the SOS, and my APS teachers know that I send a weekly tech tip, and I always have a weekly instructional strategy. If you're looking for a way to engage your learners, please check out this channel right here. Oh, there's a good question. What happens when all the students log on tomorrow and the internet struggles? What then? Well, I'm hoping that it won't be that bad. And maybe not everything will be synchronously. You might have some things that they'll be doing that they don't have to be doing all at the same time. Great question. And then maybe intermittently have synchronous lessons, if that makes sense. So you might go live with them, but not all of the for the whole day. You might have some just post some videos and things like that. So that's why we're trying to put some resources into your Google Classroom that the students can be a little bit more autonomous with their learning. Back to instructional strategies. I want to click on this, and this is where the SOS is. So the SOS stand for Spotlight on Strategies, and these are quick, easy to use strategies that you can engage your learners with. So if you are trying to focus on a particular skill, you can filter by that. So if you know that you want your students to work on citing textual evidence, I'm going to select cites evidence, and you'll see that these are all SOSs that support students citing textual evidence. So if I'm going to do that, and when we say text, just to point out, text can be paper text, it can be audio, it can be video. Text is any type of media, anything that they have to consume and understand and be able to share what they know. These are all different SOSs. So I'm going to take a look at this. Is one of my personal favorites, AEIOU. So you can use this AEIOU. There's a video, and I'm just going to hit play here for just a second.
Discovery Education presents Spotlight on Strategies video prep series, presented by the DEN community. Yay. All right.
So for every SOS, there is a video that goes through and explains how to use a strategy if you've never used it before. So you can watch this, and then if you go to classroom materials, there's a PDF version of that SOS, which breaks it down. The big idea, every SOS is broken down this way, and they've been revamping the SOS PDF. So you might see this new version of it. So we can take a look at the big idea, the steps for integrating it, and any extensions or modifications. So this is very easy. AEIOU, you can pose the question inside of Google Classroom and just say, hey, using the AEIOU strategy, respond. Give me an adjective, give me an emotion, give me what you thought was interesting based on our topic, our discussion, the video you watched. Tell me what was that oh moment and that what had you thinking. So you can use this. Additionally, I have, and I will share out this link. I have a resources page. Since we're working in Google Classroom and we're working remotely, I have an SOS page under my resource on my Tech Tips 411. If you go to resources, you'll see Spotlight on Strategies. I have an entire page of templates that can be pushed out directly. I can push out these directly through Google Classroom. So this is actually a template for AEIOU. So it's a Google Doc ready to go. I've got paper chat, PMI, 6-word story. If you don't want to use a template, 6-word story is a very easy way to capture your students' learning by having them use the open-ended response question feature in Google Classroom and have them write a 6-word story. The same with the SOS tweet, 321, tabletop texting. All of these are templates that are available for you to use with your students on my site, and I will share out that link right now. So you can grab that link right there, and I'm also going to put in my link to my distance learning that has a bunch of resources as well. We've talked about a couple of ways we can use it, and next up I'm going to show my other favorite thing that's available in Discovery Education for your students, for you to create resources and for your students to become creators as well. Going back to that magic player here, Magic D takes me back to the main page. On this top bar here where you're going to see this studio, this is my magic new favorite thing. So if I click on studio, you can create studio boards, which are self-paced lessons. You can use them as digital centers in your classroom. You would use them as a center or at a station in your classroom, but you could do this digitally, and this is how you can differentiate content. So you could create a board, modify the content for your emerging learners, your on-level learners, and your gifted learners. So this is my dashboard here. I'm going to show you what a studio board looks like, and we'll dive in. So one of my favorites is down here. I've done quite a few. So this is for my lights, camera, action board. I'll show you guys what it looks like. So I pulled in all these resources from Discovery Education to build out a board for my lights, camera, action project and where students learn all about Shakespeare. So I've brought in images, I've brought in video segments, and I've posed questions. So this is actually a board that students can interact with and respond to. So after watching the video, what time period was it called during Shakespeare's time? What types of plays did Shakespeare write? And here's an additional video. Now this is studio. I've also incorporated 3 truths and a lie from the video that they would have watched, which is the lie and why, with them responding. Watch your classes assigned play. So I've got several different videos in here for them to interact with and to learn from. I've also got video on elements of drama and a respond piece. Now, when I created this studio board, it was to keep it all inside studio, which is great. But what you can also do is I'm going to go back here to the main board. If I want to create, and I can put anything in, I can start from a template. Notice they've got those SOSs already. They've got weekly planners, compare and contrast, all different types of ones. So I'm just going to say this is an empty canvas I'm just going to start with here. So I can add in any element that I want. Searching from Discovery Ed, I can add from my quick list. So that's why that quick list comes in handy for you to say, hey, let me save that. I'm going to come back to it. I can upload from my device. So that means if you want to record a message for your students, some instructions, or you've got another video that you found that hook them with the content, you can upload from your device. You can also upload pictures. I've uploaded pictures where I created them in my Google Slides so that I could put the content I wanted, format it the way I want it, and upload it to my board. I can add in headlines, text, blocks, so I can make this an interactive 1, 2, 3, or what they call a wonder wall. I can choose add a question answer feature, and I can add multiple pages. I can go in and I can customize this with different color schemes to make it more visually appealing. I like the dark one. I also like that one as well. So I'm going to add in an element here. So I've got add from my quick list, and I'm always saving stuff. So this was a video segment from the Titanic. So now just like that, I've added that video in. That's the first step. I can add in text. Now I can give my students instructions after watching the clip, and excuse the fact that I can't type. All right, so I can give my instructions. Here's what's great in my text box. You notice that I can format my text, bold, italicized, underline, and all of that. But also I can insert a hyperlink. So I can say respond to the prompt. Respond to the prompt. But I can actually hyperlink this to a document. So now I can link to a Google Doc where I want someone to respond to this. So it can be one that I share with all of my students in Google Classroom, but I can put the link in my studio board as well. The question was asked about how do students access this? Students have the same level access as teachers do. So within APS, it's going through my backpack and clicking on this icon right here for Discovery Education. It's single sign-on. With saying that, I do want to point out that you can share anything from Discovery Education into your Google Classroom, but the caveat, and I'm going to point this out, is you need to tell the students, which they should be doing anyway, log into my backpack first, log into Google Classroom, and log into Discovery Education before clicking on any links. Because if they click on a link first, and then they go to, before they log in, it's going to prompt them to log in. And since it's single sign on it, that might confuse them. So I always tell students and teachers, before clicking on a link that's pointing you to Discovery Ed, make sure you have logged in first. Great question. So again, back to Studio here, I can add in a URL here so that it links to another resource outside. I could also link it to a quizzes activity or a Kahoot or a Flipgrid response. So I can make this be my interactive lesson. So I want to pause here for a second and see if anybody else has got some questions. And that was a great question, Tony. Thank you for asking that. Everybody's quiet in the chat, but I love seeing that there's so many people that have joined us. Hopefully we're learning some things. What's great is I'm showing you that the studio piece that I'm creating this, your students have the same access to create. So you could make creating a studio board one of their assignments while they're out. So I would definitely say that if you're working on research projects, you could have them use Studio to gather those resources or to create virtual presentations. Definitely share that out with them. They have the same access. You'll see where it says create in a studio view. And let me go back to this one right here. This is one that I did, 3 Truths and a Lie on Shakespeare. If I want to share it, this is important. I can click the share button up here in the right-hand corner. I can invite collaborators. So if you are working with your teammates to work on planning your lessons, you can invite collaborators, which means you have equal access. The assign distribute puts it inside of Discovery Education, the classes that are available there. If I choose to publish it, that means it goes live, and I can also share the live link. If you share the live link, that means any changes that you make are going to be live, and they will see the most current version of it. Other questions? So I just wanted to make sure, because I had some people joining in as they did, as we're going through this session. I have been recording it. There is a link right here. Discovery Education has posted basically what I just reviewed with you. I've just added this link. This will take you to their virtual learning assigning content, which I walked you guys through, taking a virtual field trip. What's great is that they have these, what I just showed you, links to support that. For my APS folks, make sure you've logged into Discovery Ed before you click on these links. It's got the Getting Inspired, using those pre-made activities from the Instructional Inspiration channel, how to design your own lessons there in Studio, and letting students create. So basically what I just walked through today is available on this link right here. Other questions, comments, thoughts as we're going through here? So I will be doing the Discovery Ed session again tomorrow during, let me tell the truth here. I will be doing my Discovery Ed session again on Wednesday at 10:15. You can refer to my calendar to see what sessions are being offered. And if it's an open ETS office hours, that means I'm just going to be here available to answer questions. I did record this session, so I'm going to pull that recording so that I have that for people that are not able to join during a session and they want to check it out. Again, thank you guys very much for joining me. If you have any other questions, I'm going to be online for a little bit longer. My APS folks, you guys are champion educators. I appreciate all that you are doing to ensure that learning continues as our students are out for this extended time. If you have any questions or need anything, please don't hesitate to email me, pop into my office hours, or give me a call. I emailed out all of my contact information. Again, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you so much.